Hello, my name's Graham Moore. I'm a Senior Channel Sales Engineer here at Proofpoint. So thanks for joining us. And today we're going to talk about BEC and EAC and stopping the next wave of email threats. So what is BEC, Business Email Compromise, and EAC, Email Account Compromise? There's no better way to explain BEC and EAC than telling you a real life story. So the example we've got on the screen right now is a company called PATHE that loses 19.2 million euros in a business email compromise attack. It's a media company based in the Netherlands. So what happened? Well, fraudsters spoofed the CEO from the French parent company, and the apparent email from the CEO to the Dutch chief was asking to send funds for a takeover in Dubai. After 3 to 4 emails, eventually payments followed. Ultimately, this led to the dismissal of the CFO and the CEO, but also it followed up with wrongful dismissal claims filed by the CFO. And I guess that's because maybe the CFO felt that the right security controls weren't in place within the organization, or the right training. The right training wasn't provided to individuals to be able to spot these types of attacks and to protect themselves, or the right security controls weren't in place to be able to help them and protect them. You can see we've got some links to the particular articles on the slide there that you can look at after this presentation. So BEC and EAC attacks have really hit the headlines recently. And BEC and EAC happen not only in the public sector, but also in the private sector. And these are all news headlines regarding business email compromise and email account compromise for the past few months. Now, according to the FBI, BEC and EAC has cost businesses over $26 billion since 2016. But in actual fact, the true figure is likely to be much higher, because these are the reported incidents, and we can assume fairly safely, I think, that a lot of incidents will actually go unreported. So the true figure and the true cost to organizations is probably much greater than $26 billion, but it's a huge sum of number even at 26 billion. So we can see some examples on the screen there. Media giant Nikkei, $29 million lost in a business email compromise scam. Lazio football club in a player payment scam. Even a Belgian bank there hit with a 70 million euro fraud related to business email compromise or imposter fraud. And these losses associated to BEC and EAC attacks just continue to rise. So the FBI reported losses of almost 1.3 billion in 2018 alone, and that rise continued on an upward trajectory throughout 2019. So the growing trend is that attackers are shifting their targets from attacking infrastructure to attacking people directly. And that's the important point to note about business email compromise and email account compromise, is these attacks are surfacing over email, which is the #1 attack vector, and they are targets. They are targeting people. They are attacks that target people, not infrastructure. So email fraud leads to two main threats. One is business email compromise, or BEC, in which case the attacker pretends to be you. And the other one is EAC, when an attacker actually becomes you. But in fact, BEC and EAC are so entwined. Look, the FBI has been tracking these scams as a single crime type. What they have in common is that they target people, and they both rely on social engineering to solicit fraudulent wire transfers or payments, or to steal information. So BEC starts with an email where attackers pose as someone the victim trusts. This is why sometimes it's referred to as CEO fraud, because often they'll target the CEO, because the CEO is somebody trusted within the organization who has a lot of authority and is less likely to be questioned when he is requesting something. So they make legitimate business requests, usually requesting for sensitive information or a wire transfer. BEC is hard to recognize because to the target, the request seems so routine. It's also hard to detect because there's no malicious payload, no malware, no malicious URL or attachment. So this makes it very difficult to detect and spot. So the common BEC tactics that we've seen include domain spoofing, in which case the attacker hijacks your domain to send fraudulent emails to your employees, partners, and customers, using your company brand name to steal money or valuable information. Without the proper controls in place, anyone can use your trusted domain to send messages to anyone they want. The next is display name spoofing. Display name spoofing, this is when attackers use the name of the spoofed executive, like your CEO, CFO, in the from field. But the email address actually comes from an outside service, such as Gmail, that belongs to the attacker. And it's very easy to do this display name spoofing. In fact, we wouldn't really class this as a technical compromise because it's so trivial and straightforward to do. But not all email users are going to spot that the display name is different to the actual sender in the email headers. And another technique is lookalike domains. In the case of lookalike domains, attackers register a domain that looks very similar to a trusted, legitimate domain. For example, we often see attackers replace a lowercase l with the number 1 and replace the letter O with a 0. If you don't pay close attention to the sender, you can easily be fooled by these lookalike domains. So that's something to watch out for. Now, in the case of EAC, email account compromise, attackers utilize various tactics such as password spray, phishing malware to compromise the victim's email accounts. One of the most common attack tactics we've seen is utilizing a brute force attack, in which the attackers use automated tools to try usernames and passwords over and over again until they get in. Other common attack tactics include phishing, where attackers send an email with a link to a fake website that is designed to steal credentials. Sometimes attackers utilize malware like keyloggers or stealers to break into the target's account. Regardless of the tactic, the goal is for the attacker to become you. So this is the difference. Business email compromise is the attacker pretending to be you with no real technical compromise, just sending in an imposter email, pretending to be someone else in your organization. So it's a social engineered attack. And with email account compromise, they send you an attack, so it is a technical compromise, phishing attack or password attack, to break into your account to actually become you. They actually become you. They can actually log into your account and send email on your behalf. And once they gain access to legitimate mailboxes, the attackers can access all your information, such as email, calendar, key meetings with suppliers or customers, your corporate directory, even files in file shares. And attackers use all this information to profile their victim. They maintain access by creating email forwarding rules or changing account permissions so they can closely monitor the victim and study the business. They mimic the victim. They craft very convincing and timely messages using the knowledge that they gain to send email at the opportune time to either start an internal phishing campaign or to commit supply chain fraud with supply chain phishing, or to exfiltrate data. In most cases, attackers who successfully compromise an email account would utilize social engineering to trick or threaten the target to make a fraudulent financial payment. And here at Proofpoint, we're blocking 4 to 5 million BEC attacks per annum. It really is a growing problem. And the issue here with email account compromise is that they will gain persistent access to your account. Sometimes they'll do this by installing third-party malicious applications in your cloud account, your email account, maybe your Office 365 or G Suite account. And as they use different authentication methods like open authentication tokens, it provides the attacker persistent access in the account even after a password reset. And that's what they're looking to do. They're looking to create persistent access within the account to be able to carry out this reconnaissance on your account to ultimately commit supply chain fraud. And this means that these particular types of attacks, these EAC attacks, can often result in a very high, large payment being fraudulently transferred to a third party, an attacker. So they tend to be the most costly and damaging of attacks. So the reason why BEC and EAC are so complex and difficult to prevent is because attackers shift around security measures. They don't just work on one way to get into your organization. Attackers will figure out who they want to go after and how to get to them. So we better believe that if they can find out their target's corporate email, they can actually also figure out their personal webmail. They're also going to try coming in through cloud applications, whether that's through brute force attacks or phishing. And they're going to come in through web or through your supply chain. They're going to try multiple different routes into your organization. Okay, so you get the idea as to why BEC and EAC is a $26 billion problem as seen by the FBI. It is complex, it's multifaceted, and it cannot be solved with a single product or technology. To solve it comprehensively, you need a gateway, an email authentication solution to be able to address BEC, or those attacks that use identity deception tactics. You need to be able to spot those. And if you address those, the attackers will move to account compromise. So you need to be able to protect your cloud applications. You should probably isolate the web access of the very attacked people in your organization so that their credentials don't get phished. And this is something important to note about the types of solutions we can provide here. We can provide solutions that allow you to turn on the right protections for the right individuals in your business, the ones that are at risk. But in order to be able to do that, you're first going to need the visibility into which users are being attacked with these types of imposter threats. So you need visibility into the threat landscape within your organization. You need also to be able to see which emails are being sent using your domain. And moreover, you want to be able to automate the remediation process so that such potential imposter emails can be automatically identified, detected, quarantined. But we can also go further. We can do a password reset or suspend a compromised account so that you can quickly contain the threat and the spread of that threat. So lastly, let's not forget that these types of threats are targeting people directly. So you need to be able to train your users and educate them on these different types of identity deception tactics. That way they can become part of your line of defense, because mitigating BEC and EAC risk requires both technology and training. So, how does Proofpoint go about protecting organizations from these types of attacks? Let's take a look. So we want to prevent imposter and phishing threats effectively. We need to be able to detect and block imposter and phishing emails. And we can do this with our Impostor Classifier that dynamically classifies these new forms of email threats, this new wave of threats that we see. We also want to be able to prevent the domain spoofing we talked about earlier and the fraudulent use of your trusted domain. And we do this by using a technology called DMARC. We can protect against common BEC tactics, including domain spoofing, the display name spoofing, the changing of that from field, and those lookalike domains that we discussed earlier. And we want to secure your brand's reputation by protecting your customers and also your business partners, the supply chain as well. So to detect and block more sophisticated attacks coming in via email, such as imposter-based attacks, a new approach is needed. Traditional technologies still rely on a more antiquated silo-based approach to detecting these threats. By using this approach, a change in one element doesn't really affect any of the others, and therefore the overall scoring is slow to respond to changes. And this delay can allow threats to go undetected for some time until the analysis finally catches up. So there's quite a lot of manual intervention in traditional solutions to be able to spot these types of attacks. It relies on skilled staff to go and look in logs and email servers and discover what's going on. And it takes a long time for them to be able to identify these types of threats. Now, with Proofpoint, we have our Stateful Composite Scoring Service, or SCSS. It's also known as our Impostor Classifier, a little bit easier to remember than that acronym. But in essence, our Impostor Classifier leverages machine learning to analyze emails' contents and context. It develops a baseline by learning the organization's normal flow and aggregating hundreds of other Proofpoint deployments. So having this baseline allows the system to quickly spot and block emails that fall outside of the norm, boosting its overall effectiveness, okay? So the imposter classifier doesn't rely on updates or training to be accurate. Instead, it learns in real time so that it can react quickly to changes in the threat landscape. It also detects smaller anomalies than solutions that are using the siloed approach to intelligence and analysis, etc. So additionally, because the imposter attacks can be of low prevalence, some of the attacks may never be seen by other solutions. They tend to go under the radar. They're not high volumetric based attacks. They're not big campaigns. With the imposter classifier, we use an integrated intelligence approach that looks at multiple attributes of the email itself, such as the sender reputation, the IP address, the headers, the content, and a lot more. So the imposter classifier doesn't simply look at bad email, it analyzes legitimate email. And hence we're able to classify good and from bad emails using these attributes, along with information we know about each specific customer's email traffic. And because we do this in the cloud using machine learning, we're constantly updating the protection for customers as soon as we see new emails coming in. This is all automated and works straight out of the box, no manual configuration. It's an algorithm that just works for you straight away. It's very powerful. In addition, we also want to help you to be able to authenticate your email. And we have a proven solution here with our email fraud defense that offers great efficacy that is unmatched in providing email authentication. We provide managed services around this with our service professionals to be able to help you deploy this solution. And then this solution provides full visibility into identifying who is sending email on your behalf, allowing you to have confidence that your third-party suppliers and third-party agents are able to send email on your behalf as you require them to do so, but also that you can block misuse of your domain. So our email fraud defense is uniquely integrated with the Proofpoint gateway to make the customer's defenses against identity deception stronger and smarter. And with this gateway integration, you can accelerate the DMARC enforcement by creating overrides for legitimate email that would otherwise fail authentication. Now, we also provide people-centric visibility. Each one of these events may contain a lot of information. And what we want to do is be able to cross-reference attacks that we actually see coming in over email. So we want to be able to have visibility into who our most vulnerable people are, who our most attacked people are, and who is being targeted the most. But we also want to be able to cross-reference this in case an attacker who has started a phishing campaign starts to try to migrate their attack over to cloud accounts. They may try to log into a cloud account if they feel that they've got the credentials following a phishing campaign. So we need to gain visibility into those cloud accounts as well. And through our people-centric targeted attack protection dashboards, we can actually look at our targeted attack protection SaaS defense, which provides that cross-reference to see whether there have been any suspicious login attempts on cloud accounts, whether there's been any strange file sharing activity or use of any malicious third-party applications. And where required, we can then step up those controls, and with other technologies that we can bring into play, we're able to remediate these attacks aimed at the cloud as well. We can terminate sessions, suspend users, change passwords, remove open authentication tokens that might have been authorized, and remove those malicious third-party applications as well. So it's important to be able to have this context of who is being attacked, what are they being attacked by, how are they being targeted, and is there any correlation with this activity with other services such as our cloud accounts, etc. And this is a type of visibility we can provide you with our targeted attack protection and our people-centric visibility. Now, once we've done that, we can actually start to use adaptive security controls to further protect our users. So we can use different technologies like email isolation and browser isolation to be able to lock down those more risky users. So for our very attacked people, for the ones that are targeted the most or the ones that operate in risky ways, we can actually put into place additional security controls only for those users that really need it right now. So adaptive controls for our very attacked people, where we can rewrite URLs that forces them, when they click on a URL in an email, it would force them through a web isolation instance. They won't have unfettered access to that web page until we've scanned that resource and are sure that it's not malicious in any way. We could also put in line DLP controls in place and restrict their ability to upload or download documents to and from those web pages as well, if they are deemed to be an at-risk user. So we're really providing unparalleled visibility. Because BEC and EAC attacks target people, visibility into your human attack surface is critical. Attacks are shifting their aim away from infrastructure to people. And without a people-centric visibility capability, it's hard to provide answers to your board and management about what your organisation's BEC, EAC risk is, which people are vulnerable, and what should you do to mitigate that risk. Now, Proofpoint provides you with people-centric visibility that helps you to identify your most attacked people. Okay, so you can see on that screen there, Proofpoint identifies suspicious cloud account activities, such as failed logins. You get visibility into whose cloud email has been compromised and whether the incident is associated with email threats. So in addition to knowing who's being attacked with BEC and phishing, you also need visibility into who's sending emails using your domain, and that includes your trusted third-party senders. And that way, you can be able to better understand and communicate your BEC, EAC risks to your management and to the board while prioritising mitigation. Cleaning up BEC and EAC threats across your organisation could be time consuming. The longer it takes for you to remediate BEC and EAC threats, the longer your organisation is exposed. So to quickly contain the spread of these BEC, EAC threats, you must be able to automate the threat detection and response process. Proofpoint automatically quarantines potential imposter emails reported by end users. And if there is any suspicious cloud account activities like multiple login attempts, security admins can reset those user passwords. They can re-authenticate users, they can suspend compromised accounts in an automated fashion. With Proofpoint, you can also delete those phishing emails that contain URLs that are poisoned post-delivery with one click automatically. Even if it was forwarded or received by other users, automating these functions helps you accelerate the threat response while doing less manual work. And we have a business email compromise module, as well as other modules in our security education training platform as well. So additionally, we can train our users how to spot these types of messages. We can provide them lots of other training as well, how to set passwords that are strong, how to spot suspicious URLs, how to spot dangerous attachments, etc. And with our Very Attacked People report, we know who to train first as well. So yes, we can train everybody in the organisation once or twice a year, but we can also keep a track on who are the most vulnerable people in our organisation, who are the ones that click the most open attachments, etc. And we can push them through the right type of training and train them where they're failing. And we can bring them up to speed and then change them from being a risk to our organisation to being a last line of defence. We can actually give them the tools to be able to report suspicious messages as well. And we can automate that abuse mailbox to take that burden away from our security teams as well. So with a little fish alarm button in their email client, they can actually now start to put in place what they learnt on the security education training, and they can start to report suspicious messages and help our organisation to become stronger. So Proofpoint is the first and only vendor that provides an integrated end-to-end solution that addresses the complex BEC EAC problem holistically. We tackle BEC EAC with a solution encompassing multiple security controls and security awareness training, addressing all attackers' tactics. You may solve this $26 billion problem with a whole bunch of different point products that don't talk to each other. But you'd potentially need 6 or more different ones that you'd have to cobble together. And good luck with then getting the visibility across all of that to be able to see what's going on, to provide that cross-referencing and correlation as to what's happening in all those different areas. You'd need to be able to protect on the gateway. You'd need some kind of authentication solution. But don't forget, you don't want to lock the front door and leave the upstairs window open. If attacks are coming in over the #1 threat vector, which is email, you should also be cross-referencing to see if they are migrating to the cloud. And we also want to protect our web access, and we want to provide visibility into who's being attacked so that we can protect them with the right type of adaptive access controls, such as web isolation technology, or putting them through stronger authentication by integrating with our ecosystem partners to provide stronger authentication methods such as multi-factor authentication. But also only with that visibility can you then remediate in the right way. And we need an automated remediation solution. So, or you can go with Proofpoint, which can be your strategic partner who can deliver an integrated solution, an end-to-end solution to provide you with protection against imposter-based attacks such as business email compromise and email account compromise attacks. So thank you for taking the time to join us today to listen to our presentation about the next wave of email threats, which is business email compromise and email account compromise. We really appreciate your time joining us. Thank you.